G'day. This morning I'm going to address a few things. The main thing I'm going to address is what came out of the mouth of the new, or purported new and purported police commissioner for the federal police, who actually don't exist in law, but we'll just refer to it that way because she came out and discussed the fact, or stated in one of her interviews, more to the point, that there was new laws in relation to social cohesion. Well, I thought about that, and who and what is social cohesion? How does it affect their everyday lives? It affects actually every single part. Because when you look up the dictionary's version, it refers to social being people, bees, birds, ants, sheep, cattle, wild animals, and people who will not listen to the truth, and religion. That's social cohesion in all different levels, where we're fed a load of garbage, and I'm referring to people, and we're expected to comply with it. Why? Because they said so. They teach they in school. They will not let you do this. They will not let you do that. They will make you do this. And I was listening to Jody Cowell and what he said last night. Jody Lowe, sorry. Wrong person. One's a lady and one's a man, so that hopefully neither will take offence at me referring to it that way. I've got a lot in my mind, I want to get it all out. And I listened to Ann Toomey's latest rant, I call it, but I'll be nice to her. She has no idea what she's saying. She refers to this book and the Green Book to being exactly the same, so that proves to me she's either hasn't read either, or chooses to try and manipulate people into believing that she's right when she's not. She's not, because the supreme, absolute and uncontrollable authority remains with the people. Quick and Garron tells us that that's a fact because they documented the interpretation of the Constitution that we should adhere to. It in line with the Commonwealth Constitution Act 1900 UK as proclaimed and gazetted. Too many people are saying, oh, it's only an act of Britain, we don't have to follow it. No, sorry, you're wrong. It is an act of Britain because there were six self-governing colonies here who had their own form of government, local government of the British Parliament. Let that sink into your head and look at the local government we got now, which Ann Toomey said, oh, well, you don't really need anything, they can have that, they've got plenary powers. No, they haven't. They've got plenary authority to pass legislation that complies with our Constitution. I think that's a little bit of an overrun on plenary, because plenary is complete and absolute in the dictionary, but when applied their way means they want absolute control over us. Hence the social cohesion, which is communism and everything else, Islam, all the religions, the whole lot. Now, you can say I'm wrong, but here's a go at Ann Toomey, not attacking her. I don't hate her. I listen to her because some of the points she makes are interesting. Most are nonsense. They're based on what she believes and not what the law says. To start off with, the Criminal Code of New South Wales, 1900, ceased to exist on the 9th of July 1900 on the proclamation of the Constitution under the provisions of Clause 7, which Ann Toomey doesn't believe in. She's made numerous attempts to convince people there's only one clause in the Constitution. Well, I've got the whole lot here. So just to refresh your minds and to me, so we don't get these things wrong. When you go to Clause 7, the Federal Council of Australia Act 1885 is hereby repealed, but so as not to affect any laws passed by the Federal Council of Australasia and in force at the establishment of the Commonwealth. Any such law may be repealed as to any state by the Parliament of the Commonwealth, or as to any colony not being a state by the Parliament thereof. That's pretty clear. It's basically saying on the proclamation of the Constitution, those entities are gone. And yous, of course, have to take up Section 51, Subsection 38, and try and put it back in again. This, I'm talking about politicians. The problem is, with politicians, they believe in social cohesion. They say something, we jump and do what they said. No, that's not the case. They only get to debate and pass laws according to the Constitution. Well, I'm going to read to you. I'll do it in two parts. The part which is in the Constitution and the... Don't put that there, it's right in my eyes, thanks, sorry. 51, subsection 38. And for people who don't understand Roman numerals, that's 3 X's, a V and 3 1s. The exercise within the Commonwealth at the request or with the concurrence of the parliaments of all the states directly concerned of any power which can at the establishment of the Constitution be exercised only by the Parliament of the United Kingdom or by the Federal Council of Australia, or Australasia actually. So when you look at that, you think, wow, they've got a heap of powers, but well, no, take that light away please, it keeps going in my eyes, I don't need it, thank you. The problem is, with these people, they have some silly idea that they make a statement and we comply. No, that is social cohesion. We, the people, join together in one indissoluble federation of the Commonwealth of Australia. It not only says that in the Constitution, it was told to the Labor Party in 1936 when they tried to remove Western Australia from the Commonwealth. They were told, no, the Commonwealth Constitution and the Commonwealth is indissoluble. Go back and govern the state. Was that exact words? No. What you need to understand is the Criminal Code Act of New South Wales ceased to exist under the provisions of Clause 7. Why? Because when you read the interpretation by the framers, the people who knew what they put together to send to England to get permission as 6 colonies to become one self-governing colony. But the politicians didn't want that. You see, in the late 1800s, the Fabian Society created the Labor Party. What for? A way of getting through the lies and treachery they were about to inflict on the Western world. Did it happen? Oh yeah, they did it. Have they done it before? Yep. They were involved in the French Revolution, the Fabian Society I mean, and the Bolsheviks in Russia, resulting in the death of lots of people, destruction of their societies, to the will of the socialist clowns who think they have the right to operate this world and run it the way they think. And along came behind it the other socialist people known as the Church of Rome under the Roman Empire. They sneaked in behind, joined up with a whole lot, so did the Masons, so did the Druids, the Buffaloes. That's their religion, they can have it. But because it's been concealed and brought in by stealth, people haven't realised you've been ripped off. When I referred to Jody, I'll explain a little thing because he brought out about the last election, or the elections. I put out a letter I, Wayne Kenneth of the Family Glue, attended at your polling booth with the intention of voting. I couldn't vote because there were no lawful candidates. Why weren't there? The voting system was unlawful, but just put that aside for a second. The reason I put the letter how it was, I did not tell anybody to get their name ticked off. A lot of people said they did. I said, all right, that's your choice. I don't make the choice for them. They do. And they did. And as a result, they had to pay their fines. I wrote over the fine I got. Everything that I just told you was in the letter plus more. If you wish to push this, take it to court and I'll show in the Constitution where you are sitting in blatant treason and your whole act is treason. Why is it treason? Simply, it's treason because you've totally ignored this. And when you created your Electoral Act of Western Australia, your Electoral Act Commonwealth, and the Commissioner for Elections and all that, that is blatant treason. Because this is the only way you have elections. The only way. Now, the Constitution is clear. Very clear. Section 8 says you can vote for one person once for the Senate. Section 30 says you can vote for one person once for the House of Representatives. Those two people represent your whole state. What that does is take out the corruption. Is there corruption? Oh yeah, I'll get to that in a minute. Absolute blatant treason, fraud and treachery on the people of this country. And it's still going on. And that hasn't even gone away to the slightest bit. It gets worse every day. Every day it gets worse. Albanese, I don't know what's wrong with him. He likes to lead people up the garden path. But when he went in front of Mostyn, he literally lied, deceived the people, and both of them, including her, put forward a scenario which does not exist in law. It was absolute blatant treason when he's the nice little purported Prime Minister who doesn't exist in law. He decided he had the right to resign as Prime Minister and then requested that he be reinstated as Prime Minister along with his cabinet. Well, there's no such thing as a cabinet. Mostyn says she knows the law, she knows diddly squat. If you keep pushing it, I'll push the fact that you should be charged, and that's a good job for the Commissioner of the Federal Police, if she was lawful, to lock her up. And Albanese, Penny Wong, and every single politician in this country for treason. I'm not alleging it, I'm stating it as a fact. You breached the oath you owe to the people because you never took it. How do I know that? Because I'll come back to Mostyn and Albanese in a tick. The oath that you have to follow, whether you like it or not, is the oath and affirmation contained in our Constitution. Why? Because it says so. Is it still there? Yes. Why? Because we said so. 36.5 years ago we said we do not want your stinking republic or anything to do with it. We don't want it. We want to retain what we had, which is the Commonwealth Constitution Act 1900 UK, and the Constitution derived from it, the interpretation from our forefathers, which is the only lawful, clear, precise interpretation of our Constitution. You see, I don't hate Anne Toomey. I actually quite pity her because she was trained as a lawyer, I believe. If that's not true, someone has told me a furphy. But if she was, that is one of the biggest reasons she shouldn't be where she is. If she wanted to go into Parliament, she couldn't. Anything she said wouldn't be taken with any form of authority. Because if you're a lawyer, you swear your oath to the bar of the city of in London, the Crown Corporation. I don't care whether you believe me or not, but let's go back to the oath. The oath says every senator, Section 42 of the Constitution, by the way, every senator and every member of the House of Representatives, before taking their seat, must swear the oath in the Constitution. Well, you know, that's pretty clear. Why don't you do it? Oh, because in Sue versus Hill, the Parliament decided that England was a separate nation. The Parliament doesn't get to decide anything. It gets to put the stuff, what they think, to the people, and if the people agree, we have to petition England to remove the letters patents and agree to what we want. When you tried in 1936, good old Labour Party, you were told no. You were told no. You had been told in 1920 by George V, King George V, he backs up and makes sure, in no uncertain terms, that he upholds his grandmother's letters patents. 2008, Queen Elizabeth said the same. I back up and get behind every single one of my great-grandmother's letters patents. Understand that, or comprehend that, whichever way you like. Depends which way your mind decides to swing. Now, you can sit down and you can say I'm wrong. No, I'm not. So let's go back to Albanese's and his lovely little rhetoric. He comes out, my government, which it's not, it's our government, which he represents us in it, if he was lawful, but he hasn't sworn the oath. Now, what does prorogue mean? Look up the first 3 chapters of the Constitution and the 9 clauses, like I tell people. You'll get a fair idea what the Constitution is trying to tell us, but above all, tell the politicians how we are going to be governed. Not how you think we should be governed, how we tell you how to govern us, because that's what it is. When the people tell all their representatives, and those representatives go to the Parliament, the head person there, the foreman or the speaker, which should be the job that Albanese has and nothing more, because he has no authority whatsoever. He's being paid for nothing. But let's get away from that. Go back to what I'm saying. Albanese, when you resigned as Prime Minister, and she accepted it and then reinstated you as Prime Minister and reinstated your cabinet, she committed lies, fraud, treason and treachery on the people of this country. There's no other way to look at it. No other way. There were no states with their lawful constitutions in place that complied with 106. Western Australia never complied. Every other state removed it by 1975. That's a fact. Or butchered it so bad it was useless. All in contravention of 106. 107, 108 and 109 creates the states, and they draw their authority referentially from the Commonwealth Constitution. Referentially means in compliance with the authority granted. Do we know that? Absolutely do. You were told that in 1936 and 1915, HCA 39 and 1936 at 148. Sir Samuel Griffiths, one of the people who wrote the Constitution, by the way, knows a heck of a lot more about the Constitution than Anne Toomey, because I watched the videos, and they're nonsense. Half-truths, part-truths, and absolutely nothing of any value to the people of this country. Don't believe me? Get your constitution, write down what she says, apply it to our constitution, which is the authority for the parliaments to exist. You'll find out hers is nonsense. Is she a liar? No, she's been taught garbage, unfortunately. Got a good brain? Should be taught the correct way. Then we get something from her. Now going back to what took place. When the Parliament petitions the Governor on the instruction from the Parliament, because she listens partly in a lot of things to the Parliament, not the Prime Minister, because he doesn't exist. Before she can do that, she needs to swear the lawful oath. She hasn't. She's employed on a letters patent issued by Bob Hawke in 1985. How do I know that? It's in the little blue book that they put out telling you he did it. Well, how does a Prime Minister who doesn't exist issue a letters patent to a Parliament which doesn't exist? Through a government that doesn't exist. Isn't that lovely? Aren't they nice? Really, really got brain power then. All right, now the Governor-General, if she was lawful, would have prorogued the Parliament, dissolves it. Then look up your Constitution, Chapter 1, 2 and 3. In fact, Chapter 1 is very clear. She has already selected 10 from the lower house, 8 from the upper. That is the executive government. The one, when you go to the red book, is on page 701. It says Commonwealth quasi-sovereign, because we give up part of our authority through the Constitution, which controls the Parliament. Wake up to that. What's under that? The legislature, the executive, and the judicature at federal level, and the same at state. So I'm referring to all of that. Now, you take that, and you engage that brain that you got. If she's prorogued the Parliament, who's she taken out? The Parliament. It doesn't exist. So how did a non-existent peanut, sorry peanuts, that's an insult, a non-existent Albanese resign from something he was already dissolved from, reinstated back in there, and put in place a cabinet which was dissolved if it ever existed, but it didn't. It didn't. It couldn't. The 10 from the lower house, the 8 from the upper, are the executive government. They, with the assistance, or with the governor, a lawful Governor-General, with the assistance of that committee, which is the executive government, put legislation together. Legislation that comes to their knowledge when they talk to the rest of the representatives of the people, which is a Parliament. That Parliament, once the legislation is put together, debates and passes it, and gets all the bugs out of it in the lower house, puts it to them again, where it must be debated, and then comply with the Constitution. Do the people who put the legislation together have a vote in that? No. They put it together. They're responsible for putting it together. Read chapter 1, 2 and 3. It explains it. Very, very clear. Providing you can read, you can understand it. It isn't too hard. It is a little bit up the intellectual ability of most people, but it is able to be understood, and the ones that can't explain and can, rather, explain it to the others. It's not that hard to comprehend. The legislature puts it together, the Executive Council, by the way, then it's debated in the lower house to take out any wrongdoings or anything in there that's incorrect. It goes to the upper house, who check whether it complies with the Constitution. Then it goes back to a lawful Governor-General, who signs on behalf of the Crown. Well, if you're not getting advice from the Crown, you're a moron. Why would you sit there and say, oh, I passed the legislation? No, you didn't. You can't pass one darn thing. Not one single thing. No crown, no authority, no ground to the power. The only power that can be exercised is that which is granted by the crown. The crown is not you. It is not the people. It's the crown in right of the people because you're serving the people if you are, but you're not. So then you made all this debacle about, I'm talking about Mostyn again, about how you have these power, that power. You've got none. No crown, no authority, so no power. Wake up. I'm not getting in any debates with anybody, so just please do not put it. You can say whatever you like. I'll read it all later, but no, I'm not getting into a debate. I'm actually reading and taking on board a lot of what you're saying, but I'm not going to refer to it because it'll interfere with what I'm trying to get across. This is the fourth video on blatant treason in this country. Now let's get to where we are at present. Last time I brought up the fact that Western Australia had a bodgy election. On the 2nd and 3rd, the local paper, or the West Australian newspaper, confirmed that that was the case, meaning the election was fraud. The governor, which we don't have, ex-police commissioner, guilty of a lot of things, I'm not going into that. He's not the governor. He doesn't represent the Crown. He represents the company known as the state, created under the Acts Amendment, Repeals Court and Legal Practice Act. If he signs anything or gets involved in anything to do with the government, he's just a filthy traitor, and that's all he is. You don't like what I said, sue me, I'll go to court when you establish a court, because you haven't got any at present, and I'll show you what the law actually says. I've got the lot. You're a liar, you're a fraud, and you're a traitor to this country sitting where you are. If you can't see that, I suggest you get a copy of the Red Constitution and the Commonwealth Constitution Act. Sit down and read it and understand. I know you can understand because you're not stupid. You are intelligent. You're just going the wrong way. And understand you're going to pay for that. So is every politician in this country. This is not a hate speech. This is a fact about people who did a lot of things during the pandemic, which I refer to because I think it was planned. I don't think it was totally lawful, and evidence has come out to show that it's not. So getting back to what I said, when the new Parliament comes in, the Governor-General must select 10 from the lower house, 8 from the upper. They create the Executive Council. They, and only they, put together legislation with the Governor-General. Only. The Governor-General, as a representative of the King, takes advice from the King, not the Prime Minister, gets advice from the Parliament. The Parliament who are representing the people, who are supposed to go there after talking to the people and finding out what their will is. Have you done that? No, you haven't. You don't need to. Oh, look, get out of my office. I haven't got time for this. We got policies. A policy is a lie waiting to be inflicted on the people. It is not law before or after you purportedly pass it. It is lies. Open up your ears and your eyes and shut your mouths. Sit down and read the Commonwealth Constitution Act and the Red Book, which interprets it. We have an Immigration Act. They're talking last night about problems with immigration. Yeah, well, the problems are solved because all you have to do is put this back in place. Put it back in place. It is law. Imperial law in this country under the 9 clauses. And to me, you say, oh no, you only use one clause, clause 9. No, Aunt Toomey, you got that wrong too, sorry. Because the 9 clauses were put there by Queen Victoria as part of the Constitution. As part of it. The Boundaries Act's gone, all that garbage is all gone. So the states have no control over the ocean between the high water mark and 12 nautical miles. It's federal. Where is it? They're not doing it. It's the federal parliament trying to tell the states they've got all this authority when you don't have it. And you don't. If you do, you show me where you get it in the Constitution. You don't have it. Can you stop people fishing? No, you can't. No, you can't. You don't have any authority whatsoever. Going on social media and bleating and saying, oh, you destroyed our livelihood and that, what else are you doing? Don't go to a lawyer. They work for the Crown Corporation of London. That's where the oath goes to. And then are incapable of sitting in our courts. But they are sitting there. No Catholic can hold a position under the Crown, imperial law. Why are they there? 90% of them are Catholics. The rest are, or all of them are lawyers. They're all sprouting the same nonsense. You know, you can do this. The Bible says thou shalt not kill. It's part of the common law of this country. It is actually the common law of this country. But then you allow some woman to kill their baby because they don't want it. To me, if you drop your pants and open your legs and you get pregnant, you go through with the whole thing. You created it. Don't kill a human being because, oh, that's my right, it's my body. No, it's not. I hope if all you people who have had it done, you go through huge mental anguish and pain. I don't hate you, but you have to pay for the murder, I believe, because that's my belief and I'm entitled to have it. That is murder. You kill a life. Is it a life? It's a life. The doctors have proven it. Why are you doing it? Why do you go and do it? Because you think, I got the right over my body. I can drop my pants, jump in the bed with anybody, get pregnant, and the man's responsible as well. And you do it. And you end up pregnant. And then, I don't want that baby, so I'll kill it. The attitude that life means nothing is disgusting. 116 says no government can legislate against a person's religion, nor can they question it. You've legislated against majority of people in this country who is a Catholic, Protestant, whatever, who do not believe in murder, but you do it. You do it. And the big problem is it's absolute dribble. It's absolute dribble. You cannot get away with that. And one day you will pay for it. You think, oh, no, there's no God, so I'll get away with that because the atheists are saying there's no God. Well, I believe there is. That's my belief. You can't even criticise that. Well, you can. I'll just laugh at you anyway because I know what I'm saying. And most religions are part of social cohesion. They get a group of people and they control them in an area. Same as birds do. Bees follow the queen and all their jobs they give them to do. This is social cohesion at its best, and a good way to explain it. Ants. They go for miles and get food and bring it back to their nest. Birds fly around in flocks. Sheep follow each other. I grew up on properties and I know how sheep follow each other. You get one that you train up a little bit and it'll go in whenever you want to get them to go in. They'll all follow single file for miles. Look at them in paddocks. Cattle do the same. Wild animals, they migrate from one end of Africa to the other. That's social cohesion. That's what it's talking about. And if you think the new commissioner that the people are going to do that because the parliament, who is not lawful, say so, you're wrong. That is blatant treason. You're there to serve and protect the people. Go read the law. If you aren't going to do that, resign. Or eventually stand trial for treason. You think we're going away? No, we're not. We're getting stronger and stronger every day. More and more people. You cannot ban lawful protests on the street. Not if it interferes with traffic or anything else. It's not your job. The streets are for everybody. Streets are from fence line to fence line. any part of that street belongs to the people. I don't mean you can walk up the middle of the highway like a moron with a road train bearing down on you till you get flattened out like a piece of bashed up meat, because that's what'll happen. I mean, if you march along the side of the street in an orderly fashion and there's 4 lanes, why can't you march in one of those lanes? Do the police have the right to stop you? No. The police are there to get behind the people when the Parliament is breaking the law. That's your job. It's your job. It isn't, oh no, the government's right, they pass these laws. They're not a government, they're a Parliament. They aren't right. They do not get to dictate to the people. What they're doing is blatant treason. Wake up. What part can't you understand? It's absolute and utter garbage. I'm not going to rant for hours. I just thought I would deal with the social cohesion garbage that's being pushed around. While we've got a Parliament which is sitting in blatant treason, going totally against the 1999 referendum. We said we retain our Constitution and everything to do with it. You were saying, oh, it didn't pass, so it's not worth nothing. Liars. The Act that grants us the right to have referendums and everything is this. It must be complied with for referendums and everything else. It didn't fail. It didn't not pass. If the people say no, it means exactly that. If you can't understand no, put a brick wall at the end of an alley and run full bore at the end of the alley, and when you hit the brick wall, you'll know you've got to stop because somebody up the other end said no. There's no such thing as carry and not carry. It's yes, and you can do it, no, and you can't. Even if we say yes, it still must comply with the Constitution. Still must. And it's a majority of people in a majority of states vote something in. Now, one last thing. Get back to that ridiculous purported election in Western Australia. What was put together by an entity, known as the state, unknown to the Constitution, both state and Commonwealth. The state of Western Australia was created under 107, 108 and 109, but not the state created under Section 8 of the Acts Amendment Repeals Court and Legal Practice Act, the one they were operating under. That creates an entity known as the state with no crown, everything removed from our law. January the 1st, 2004, they said, oh, that's law. No, it's not. There was no governor to do it. There was no lawful parliament to produce it, to debate it. Did it comply with the Constitution? Absolutely not. Treason and fraud. So, Dodgy Roger, Mark McGowan and all the rest of you were sitting in that treason and fraud. You can't change it because, oh, the politicians think so. Politicians don't think. They usually follow around like sheep all the rest of the people who run their parties. Oh, we agree with what the sheep are saying up the top. We'll just do that. If they told you to jump over a cliff, would you? It's happened before. Followed the leader straight over the cliff until there was none left. That's how stupid they are. And that's how you look. Now let's get back to the second issue, which arises out of that fraudulent, dishonest and totally unlawful election in Western Australia, because there was not enough sheets of paper produced. If the guy made a mistake or did it deliberately or whatever, he has to be punished. What are you doing? Oh, just let him retire with a big fat cheque. So obviously, he was doing it for you, Dodgy Roger. But anyway, even if he wasn't, that had the effect that the election straight after it, which was the federal one, never complied with this either. So neither of them complied with this. So guess what? Federal and the state elections this year are invalid, and the upcoming one in the other states are invalid. You don't comply with this, which every state has a copy, and it complies with our constitution, that the elections are taken state by state. If they're not, they're gone. They're garbage. You know, the problem is a big, huge problem to everybody in this country. It says, and it doesn't matter what colour you are. Kangaroo Jack is saying the truth, we need to get together. We need first to go back and accept the fact that the Pygmies, the Bibermans and all the rest of them, the different tribes of Pygmies, were here before anybody else. They were the first inhabitants. Everybody in this country is here on borrowed time. We're here to protect the environment, and we should be. A lot of us. I know they're trying, but they're lying to do it. Doesn't work. They're lying to protect their own lies, and more lies. That's all you ever get out of politicians and the purported governing body of this country. You're not. You're just a pack of liars. And when that changes, we might get some common sense. Till then, we just get more and more liars. That's huge. Can you comprehend that? I don't care if you can or can't. You are lying. You lie to protect the lies you told yesterday and the day before, and you keep going. We, since the Federation, have never had a lawful federal parliament. Don't say we have, because I've got all the evidence, and the Constitution clearly states there's a format, and it wasn't followed. 106 was not completed. Some people tried to say Western Australia never went into it, but they did by declaration by Queen Victoria. And that's on the inside wall of the Church of England, St George's Terrace, Perth, Western Australia. I've told you enough times, go and have a look. I've got photos of it because a person got them. So it can't be concealed or dismissed and made out that it didn't happen. And the reasons for it happening are on the inside wall of the Boulder Hall, which is part of the museum in Kalgoorlie, Boulder, which is two cities joined together because they merged. They got big enough and they merged into one. So you want to disprove what I'm saying, you go and prove it. I'm not giving false information. There's no hate speech. I don't hate anybody. I'm saying what I believe, which I'm allowed to. My belief is if you create a child or a living thing inside you, you can't kill it. That's murder. That's my belief. You don't agree with that? Too bad. You don't like homosexuals, you don't chuck them off the roof and kill them and all the rest? You don't. Show me in the Bible where it says that. Go to the New Testament, not the Old. The Old says it does. Man lays with a man as he does to a woman, take him outside and stone him to death. But a man lays with another man's wife, just listen to this one, take them both out and stone them both to death. You kill somebody without a good reason, stone you to death. That was changed on the start of the Age of Grace. Understand what I'm talking about, because from then on, you're going to pay, and that judgment day is coming, and you're going to pay. You don't like what I'm saying? Well, that's my belief. I'm allowed to have it. Why? Because the law says. Our law, not politicians' law, which does not exist. It is policies. What we think. I don't care what you think. You go there to represent the thoughts of the people that you are serving. Are you doing that? No. That's treason. Did you take the oath contained in our Constitution? No. You're sitting in treason. Yes. Go for it. It's as simple as that. Yes and no. The two most simplest words in the dictionary. When the people say no, it's no. We said no to the continuance of local government. No to the establishment. No to the empowering. And you still went ahead and done it. Blatant treason and theft off the people. And what did you do? Oh, we'll get around that. Dodgy Rogers at you and McGowan said, oh, we'll just change the titles to Torrens titles. No. Titles are not issued from the Parliament. They're issued from the Governor on behalf of the Crown of England. Understand that. And the big problem is Ben Bet, shut up. And I'm going to answer you because you ignore everything that's said and you say nothing has changed, nothing, because you've done nothing. That's why. And you're the only person I'm answering because you're a moron. The only reason that things keep going the way they are is because good men do nothing. And if you're a good person, get off your fat lazy butt and do something. Stop mouthing off at me and other people who put it on here. And this is not a rant. It's not a rant, it's the truth. Stand up for everybody, like everybody should be. Stop lining your own pockets at the expense of everybody else. Thank you. I've got no more to say, and I didn't mean to upset that person. If he gets upset, big deal. Wake up. You do something. I spent years and years of study to get where I am now and get the knowledge I've got to help you. And all you can do is say, what are you doing? Yeah, well, that's it. So, Brett Spricer, it is a drunken rant. No, it's not. I don't drink at all except water. If you think that this water is drunk, then you're a moron. Anyway, have a nice day, and I'll probably catch you next year now. All the best for the new year. Thank you.